Trump once again upset that people are spitting out actual facts about how his tariffs in the long run will be detrimental not only to America, America's people, but our relationships to other countries, like throughout the world. Our trading components will be destroyed. Our trust components with other companies, other countries will be destroyed because of his tariffs. And now, isn't it funny? I just want to say this. Isn't it funny when we talk about, the whole gender war and gender political narrative, that Kamala would have been a little bit too emotional to be in that presidency seat, to be in that White House and run this country. Yet we have a big fat baby in Trump getting butthurt and upset and offended by an ad from Canada that criticizes his tariffs. And he decides, because he's offended that his policies are being exposed for the fraudulent nature they are, he goes and says, I'm going to place more tariffs on Canada. Isn't that giving a little bit too much of PMS for Donald Trump himself? Isn't that giving a little bit too much of emotional instability for Donald Trump? And yet Kamala would have been too emotional to run the country. Yet we have a 500-pound baby running our country. It's called gender. It's called gender. It's called gender when it comes to these dynamics. And it's just annoying because it's always a gender political narrative that has to be placed where women would not be enough to run for president, to be in the presidency, because they're too emotional. Yet we have Donald Trump here being offended by an ad from another country. So when we talk about this ad, I wanted to pull it up because I wanted to play it. I don't know if it's going to get me taken down, but it is what it is. I wanted to play it because I wanted clarity when it comes to this ad. Where is the ad? Where's the ad? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
So Trump is upset at that ad because he feels like this ad targeted him. It destroyed his credibility and revealed the truth about tariffs in the long run. And the snippets used from Ronald Reagan's speech is from a radio address back in 1987, where Ronald Reagan was talking about how implementing tariffs should never be America's first line of defense. It should be communication and trade negotiations. But if tariffs are necessary to implement against countries for goods coming into this country, then okay, we can implement them. But in the long run, if they continue to go on for months, years, decades, in the long run, it leads to economic instability, inflation, Americans paying more for priced goods. It leads to, as well as countries that start to isolate and against the United States when it comes to international trade. It's all these things in the long run that could affect America's stability and economic growth when it comes to tariffs. So this ad, Trump is claiming, takes snippets and manipulates and misrepresents what tariffs do for the United States. But Ronald Reagan, who I trust way more than Trump, I would listen to his snippets than a full address from the White House and the Oval Office Trump does nearly every day, where he's barely coherent, barely can stand, and just attacks and uses the same Republican and MAGA talking points to denounce, destroy, and discredit America. Yeah, I trust Ronald Reagan over Donald Trump, for sure, even if it's snippets. But what's happening is he's saying that it's a misrepresentation of his tariffs. But the truth is, the snippets that were taken from the actual radio address from Ronald Reagan actually still contain the sentiment when it gets snipped out and put into a minute-long advert. And it's true. So why I think Donald Trump got so pressed, so upset, so mad, and decided to lash out immaturely to add more tariffs on top of the tariffs we already taxed on Canada was because his ego felt threatened. His stability started to crumble because now internationally there's ads showing exactly how tariffs in the long run do not help the country and do not help the international socio-economic world at large. Trump believes his tariffs are going to save America, but truth is, they're destroying America, they're destroying Americans, and they're going to continue to inflate the prices of American goods and the goods that American consumers have to buy on a daily basis, to where we are going to be in a Great Depression within a year. So Trump being upset about an ad and then being emotionally immature and pressing more tariffs on top of Canada says exactly more about his care about his own self-preservation versus the preservation of the American people and what the American people are about to go through come November and the government shutdown with SNAP benefits being restricted and revoked. Okay? Let's lean on that there. Trump is more concerned about his appearance and how tariffs can affect his appearance and his deals versus the starving American people that could come November. He's worried about making sure Canada pays for its misstep in misrepresenting the tariffs versus trying to fix our government shutdown to ensure that kids and women and families don't go hungry.